Okay, cool. We're going to be that way. The manager said that she doesn't want you on property, so you're going to...
I would like to... Whoa, what's going on?
Howdy, good people of the internet, and welcome back to another amazing and educational video. On top of educational, it's also an update to a previous video I posted about pigs under pressure and Tucson Police Suck's arrest at an apartment complex in Tucson, Arizona. Both men were arrested for criminal trespassing and disorderly conduct while they were out on a sidewalk. More of that later. But first, we're going to go over a few minutes of the actual interaction, and then we're going to jump to the sentencing that happened after their trial. Pay close attention to everything this Judge Judy wannabe judge says when she's trying to justify how she came to the conclusion to convict these men and then sentence them for crazy stuff. I don't even understand it.
Give me 1 second.
Are you a resident here? What's your name and address with me?
Oh, Will. Okay. So what address are you staying at?
I'm not going to give you his address.
1523.
What's your address, sir?
Why did you give me trespass for?
What's your name and badge number?
Was I rude?
I will in a second.
Okay, what's your name and badge number?
Okay, cool. We're going to be that way. The manager said that she doesn't want you on property, so you're going to...
I would like to... Whoa, what's going on?
So Pigs Under Pressure is a guest of a resident of this apartment complex, but because he's holding a camera and pointing it at the police went to the apartment complex manager and asked her to trespass them from the property. Even though they didn't commit any crimes and they are a legitimate guest of a resident, they still got trespassed and then arrested for it. And then when they go out to the sidewalk, another resident of the apartment complex, who just happens to be a DOC or jail guard, comes out in body armor and a gun, yelling at Tucson Police Suck to stop yelling at the police. When he doesn't listen, he takes off his shirt and his gun and approaches Tucson Police Suck and assaults him. And they do nothing about it except for arrest this old military veteran.
Tucson Police Suck! I'm on a public sidewalk, guy. So, well... Piggy!
I work for law enforcement too.
Tucson Police Suck! You work for Tucson Police Suck?
I work for law enforcement.
Oh, well you suck too. Hey, Piggy! Tucson Police Suck! Piggy! Piggy! What are you gonna do?
What?
What are you gonna do?
I'm not going on the test for that shit.
Okay, what are you gonna do?
I'm not going on.
Tell me what you wanna do. Police Suck!
Who you calling bull?
Piggy!
You get
Hey, buddy, I tell you what.
the fuck out of here.
Do not touch me. I'm on a
what?
public sidewalk.
Or what?
I'm on a...
Now let's jump to the sentencing where Judge Judy makes a mockery of legal interpretations.
As to count A, the disorderly conduct charge, we first heard from Ms. Quiros. She testified that despite being behind her front door, she could hear Mr. Tripolini say, "I'm going to get my gun," and call out that this is where they live. She knew that they had recording devices going and directed at the residents. I also then heard from Mr. Coleman, who testified that he was outside of the residence, but in the sidewalk within the complex, not the public sidewalk space, but that he could also hear Mr. Tripolini say that he was going to get his gun, and Mr. Coleman observed that Mr. Triplini was using a recording device and indicated that the recording device was directed inside the residence of Mr. Coleman, and that he also heard Mr. Coleman or Mr. Triplini say, "This is their address, this is where they live," pointing the recording device at the direction of the residence.
Doesn't it almost seem like she's talking about this recording device as if it were a weapon, pointing it directly in their house, pointing it directly at them? I mean, how sensitive can you be, Kate?
With that, I looked to the State versus Johnson case on 12 Arizona 383. There, the court says, in order to determine whether the noise made by appellant was loud or unusual, it must be evaluated in terms of a reasonable man's standard. Our inquiry must determine whether the noise would disturb a person of ordinary sensitivities, that is, the language or conduct is to be adjudged to be disorderly, not merely because it offends some supersensitive or hypercritical individual, but because it is by its nature of a sort that is a substantial interference with our old friendliness. So, what the court is telling me there is that I can look at the language used and the circumstances here and not adjudge it by the individuals involved, but would the ordinary reasonable person be offended by this language? It's clear that both Ms. Quiros and Mr. Coleman heard the statements from Mr. Tripolini. It's clear that they both observed him recording directly at their private residence. And although many of these statutes well predate social media, the internet, they still have to be interpreted in this modern time. And while videoing someone in front of their home, which should be their sanctuary where they can always feel safe, and announcing that this is where someone lives while recording them, I think that could clearly be offensive and distressing and cause the peace of the people residing in that location to be disturbed because of the likelihood that their location is easily determined once that information is put to the internet. Beyond that, we also have a statement, "I'm going to get my gun." I think any reasonable person could find that that is an offensive statement. Guns are dangerous instruments that can cause grave harm and death. So saying that you're going to go get your gun when somebody is in what should be the safest space of their lives, their home, would be an offensive statement, and it would disrupt the peace of Mr. Coleman and Ms. Quiros. So regardless of the fact that they testified that they felt their peace disturbed, I think the ordinary individual in that circumstance, being at their residence, at their place of peace and sanctuary at its height, was being disturbed here by your statements, Mr. Tripolini. And it was testified to by even Mr. Brown that you were speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear you in that vicinity, and it certainly was heard by the residents here who felt their peace disturbed by your statements about going to get your gun and that this was their residence while recording them and live streaming it to the world. This absolutely disturbed their peace. So I will find you guilty of disorderly conduct as to Ms. Quiros and Ms. Cole. Now, as to count B, the criminal trespass in the third degree. In this count, I looked to the evidence that was presented in the testimony. All of the officers indicated that they had been called to a shots fired scene. They did not know, based on the call, whether this was an accidental shooting, a homicide, a suicide, and they are tasked to engage in investigation. That is the job of the police department when called to a scene, particularly when it's shots fired, to go to that space, secure the space, and investigate. And that may include determining if it's a homicide or suicide, finding evidence in the space, and or witnesses and or possible suspects. Particularly in a shots fired, there is an intensified need to secure a space because there could be additional danger and loss of life pending at any moment when there has been a gun discharged by someone and the police don't have any further information beyond that. So, in looking at the trespass statute, criminal trespass in the third degree, a person commits criminal trespass in the third degree by knowingly entering or remaining unlawfully on any real property after a reasonable request to leave by a law enforcement officer. I look next to the State versus Barr case. It's 183 Arizona 434.
All right, now listen close, because this is the best part of the whole video. We get to listen to this moron judge butcher and misinterpret the case law she's about to quote or did just quote. The State v. Barr case that she just referenced is the tale of a man who went into a public building without a purpose and created a disturbance and then refused to leave the building after he was reasonably requested to leave after creating a disturbance, resulting in his arrest for trespassing that he was convicted of, appealed to the Supreme Court or at least the appellate courts in Arizona, and they affirmed his conviction because he was in the building without a purpose, creating a disturbance, which gave them grounds to trespass him. But we're going to listen to wannabe Judge Kate in Tucson, Arizona, completely mutilate the interpretation of this case law. I really suggest that the legal team get on understanding what it is that you have these judges spewing in a courtroom, because they sound so stupid, it's not even funny.
In there, the court elaborates on the verbiage of the statute and says, based upon our examination of the plain language of ARS section 13-1502A, we conclude that it applies to both private and public property. There is no indication in the statute or elsewhere that the legislature intended to limit this criminal trespass solely to private property. The legislature could have distinguished between private and public property, but did not. Rather, it used the phrase any real property. In the definition of this offense, generally the word any is, in its ordinary sense, broadly inclusive. Moreover, the United States Supreme Court has recognized the propriety of applying a trespass statute prohibiting trespass upon the property of another to public property, noting that the state, no less than a private owner of property, has power to preserve the property under its control for the use to which it is lawfully dedicated. Here, police officers were conducting an investigation on the shots fired. This is possibly the most dangerous type of circumstance and the most intensive type of investigation that police officers engage in, because there's been a loss of. With that, they had the authority to realize and take control of the space they were investigating. They had asked you to leave the property, and I do find that you moved down and onto the public space. However, that still disrupted the ongoing, very intense investigation that the police were engaging in. Sergeant Dial took the stand and said that he had hoped that you would just leave the space that they were investigating and allow them to finish their investigation without being impeded. That didn't happen despite the fact that you had gone to the public sidewalk. There continued to be a disturbance that pulled the resources of the police department away from the investigation they were engaging in to the space that you were in.
To an assault.
And I found that that was the continued trespass. You had been asked to leave the space so that the police could conduct their investigation, and you continued to invade the space that the police were investigating and pull police resources away from the investigation they were called to, a shots fired, and that the police, in their authority as police officers engaging the investigation, have the authority to clear a space to allow the investigation to occur as efficiently as possible. And that was not being allowed here by you continuing to trespass in the area where the police were conducting their investigation. Remained in the space where the police were investigating, and their resources were continued to be called away from the investigation that they were engaging in. And the State versus Barr case clearly indicates that a public sidewalk can still be trespassed. The public sidewalk was not being utilized for a lawful purpose at that point. Sidewalks are for ingress and egress and safety, a way to allow pedestrians to move on the public byways without being hit by a car. Had you been engaging in lawful free speech, that may have been another exception. But here I'm finding that disorderly conduct and statements that you were making are not protected free speech. So you were not utilizing the public space as it was dedicated lawfully to be used. And law enforcement therefore had reasonably asked you to leave already. They had the authority in their work as police officers there at the scene of another incident that they had been called to investigate, and therefore you remained unlawfully on any real property after a reasonable request to leave by a law enforcement officer. So I will find you guilty of the trespass in the third degree. We can proceed to sentencing. Does the state wish to make any sentencing argument?
State will defer to the court, Your Honor.
Mr. Triplini, you have an opportunity to speak on your behalf.
Just want to say that you guys are all traitors to the United States Constitution. There was an assault that occurred down there. I would have never been down there. I think that, I don't want to say anything else. I'm just going to be rude, so. I got to get back to work now, so I'm ready to go. Let's hear the sentencing. Change of venue, witness wouldn't happen.
I'll say, Mr. Triplini, that I don't think that you were, I understand your desire to hold police accountable, and your mechanism for doing that is in reporting. I think, unfortunately, the circumstances in this case escalated beyond you and Mr. Brown simply being there reporting, and some of the...
So the police didn't escalate anything? Is that what you're saying? It was just me?
I'm saying that you just recording was not the circumstance here. We had yelling that police suck, and
Wasn't me.
you know, I understand that, but it was with someone with you, and someone you were participating in this process with. And I think that that aided to the disruption of what was a very unfortunate scene. I don't know, as you've ever had
The drug addict killed himself. Simple as that. It happens every day. It's very unfortunate, and I film them all the time, and these rulings in this court aren't going to stop me from filming them. I will continue to hold my government accountable to the day I die.
But I don't have a problem with you holding your government.
It's going to be liberty or death for me. That's the way my life is going to go.
I don't have a problem with you holding your government accountable. I hope that every police officer takes his oath seriously and treats the community with respect. And I don't have a problem with trying to do some accountability. But when it impinges on an investigation, that's when there is a problem.
The investigation was over with. All the body cams show that. They were done. They were shrinking it down to the brothers.
There was still
No, there wasn't.
There was still someone that had.
I know more about this day than any of you put together in this courtroom. I have studied this day for the past year. Their crime scene was closed. They were closing it down. Whatever you say, just give me the sentence. Give me the maximum. I don't care. There's no justice in this courthouse, period. And I'm furious now. And I respect your judgment, but I am absolutely furious that my Constitution is being shredded by this courtroom. Shredded. Standing on public property. And you're fine to give me whatever sentence you want. Sentence me to death. Because you just sparked an event. Now I'm going out cop watching right now, all day and all night, and I'm going to continue to do it. And now you just pushed me to the point to where now I'm going to do it every single day, because I know there is zero justice and zero accountability with these cops that assault people and protect the thin blue line. This corrections officer assaulted somebody, immediately said, I work for the county, I work for Pima County, gets away with it. Assault. I didn't touch anybody that day. Nobody. I was assaulted. Give me your sentencing, because I gotta go. I'm not happy right now. Give me your sentencing before I get in contempt of court.
I will place you on 12 months of unsupervised probation. During that time, you cannot commit any law violations. There, on the criminal trespass, there's a $500 fine, but I will suspend 400 of it. And on the disorderly conduct, there is a $2,500 fine, and I will suspend 2,300 of it. Would you be able to pay the total amount of 300 today, or do you need a payment?
I'm appealing this tomorrow morning. I'm appealing your decision tomorrow morning. If I'm not paying you guys anything, I'll do community service for Veterans United for Cannabis, and I'll go smoke pot and grow pot with them and execute my community service that way.
So I can put you on a payment plan if you're unable to pay today.
I'm not paying you guys anything, Your Honor. The $300, I'll do community service on it.
I need to make an indigency finding to allow community service, sir.
It's not about indigency. I'm just not going to film a terrorist organization. I'm not going to give my money to a terrorist organization. I'm going to give it to a non-profit organization, Your Honor. That's all I'm asking. Can I please give the money to somebody that helps the community versus somebody that terrorizes the community? Please?
I can allow you to pay with community restitution, but I have to make a finding of indigency. I have to determine that you're unable to pay.
I've got $5, $10, $15. You want to settle for that? That's all I got. You want to check my wallet?
Sir.
Indigency proved.
I just need to know what your monthly gross income is and whether you have any dependents and how many, and I can make an assessment and then potentially allow community service with you.
I'm not giving you my monthly income, and I'm not telling you how many dependents I have. Do what you got to do. You've already done what you got to do. Finish it up.
I will require that you pay $50 a month. I'll have that start within the next 30 days.
I'm not paying it. I object. I'm not paying none of it.
Come and get a copy of this order, and we have information. You do have the right to appeal. You would need to file a notice of appeal within the next 14 days. And we'll have it.
All right. Is that the sentencing, or you got more to go? You got a garbage can I can throw this Constitution in? Anyone? This shit's garbage. I had faith in you. I feel bad when 500,000 people see what went on in these proceedings. They're going to say as well. I go to the court of public opinion, and that's where I'll continue to go. You guys are traitors to the Constitution. What are there? So one of these orders here, I want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying here.
Supervised probation. During that time, you cannot commit any law violations. And
What happens if I do? Violation of probation. You give me 12 months of unsupervised probation, and I got to give you $300. I don't see, if I was actually a criminal, how would this affect a real criminal and changing his mind and deter him from doing it the next time? I don't understand this. I don't understand anything, and I don't understand the nature and cause of the actions you guys have done against me. I don't understand how this prosecutor can get away with not proving subject matter jurisdiction and laugh at me in the midst of it. I don't understand any of this. I will be appealing it, and we'll see how far it goes, and ultimately, I'll see you guys in federal court. Thank you for completely railroading me in this just us system, which was at the direction of Riojas. Grant my motion to... None of these other courts would have allowed this. Anywhere in the state of Arizona. In case you guys stab me in the back, I'm gonna record my way out. Excuse me? I'm not gonna film anybody else in the corner. You want me to get up and swing this way on my way out? How would you like me to do it? No, I'm not. I am gonna record my way all the way out of this building because this building is a big tyrannical ship, and I'm not gonna allow you to tell me that I can't record in the public spaces of our public building. Unless I guess a couple cops come over and tell me that it's real property, and then it'd be trespassing, right?
In here, you have no jurisdiction out here. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah. If your brain hurt listening to that moron talk, you're not the only one. If you want to watch the original version of this on Pigs Under Pressure's channel, I will link that in the comments and the description, along with a link to his channel so you can subscribe. Before you leave, hit the like button and share this video with somebody you think might need to see it. Until the next video, folks, have a great day.
You would abuse your authority if I exercise my right. Whatever. I don't personally care what you sentence me to. I'm appealing everything today. It's going to freeze whatever you sentence me to, and we're just going to kick it to a higher court. Because clearly this one is corrupt.
They turning our communities to hot blocks. Got Glocks, handcuffs, and badges. They swearing that they hot shots. They want to lock us and throw away the stop. Watch direct deal, show you how to cop. Watch cop top. You don't need a top-notch camera, just a cop. Watch. Gotta know your rights or you lose them. So we cop. Watch.